Alrighty, so today we're going to look at the last remaining 6 games from the penultimate weekend before decision day of match week number 37. And for these last 6 games, I believe all these games are going to be Western Conference game. I mean, this is a Western Conference game. This is a Western Conference game. These two are Western Conference game. And of course, on the second board, those late night games are definitely Western Conference game. But that being said, in terms of these Western Conference game, yeah, we definitely saw some blowouts in some of these games. I mean, this was a blowout. This was definitely a blowout, and this was also a blowout too. But we start off with the first game, which is Austin versus LAFC, and yeah, Austin is done in terms of their playoff chances, and it felt like they've been done for a while now. I mean, after getting their much needed win last week, you just kind of had a sense that maybe there's a glimmer of hope that they can push for the playoffs. And no, this game was a game which just kind of sums up the latter part of the season for Austin. They're pretty much going out, getting eliminated this season on a whimper against LAFC. Now, early on, Rigoni did put it high from close range, and that was just 1 minute into this game. But the first shot for LAFC would end up in the back of the net. It's Timothy Tillman that scored from Bawanga to give LAFC a 1-0 lead. As I mentioned, that was the first shot for LAFC. But besides the goal, not much really happened for the first 25 minutes. It was one apiece in terms of the shots, and I feel like this game is very reminiscent of LAFC of last season, where they tend to always start off a little bit slow before they really ramped up the pressure, and they kind of did it again in this one. Bawanga would puts it high from long range before Stuver would deny him in the 34th minute, and then a penalty was given to LAFC after VAR deemed that Visanen brought down Oliveira in the box. Bawanga basically steps up to take the penalty because I believe Vela, he came off the bench in this game. He didn't start in this game, so that's why Bawanga takes the penalty kick duty and he buries it. So yeah, that made it 2-0 in favor of LAFC. That was the scoreline heading into the second half. Bogusz then blasted high from long range in the 50th minute. And for a team that is fighting for playoff lives, also surely don't look like they're playing like it. I mean, it didn't look like they realized that this is the game that they have to win if they want to stay off elimination. And again, it just feels like this team is going out on a whimper rather than trying to fight for another day and see what happened on decision day. But in the 54th minute, it gets worse for Austin as Bawanga would score his second goal of the game to make it 3-0 in favor of LAFC. All of a sudden, Denis Bawanga, yeah, he is red hot right now. And it's also not a big surprise that LAFC in the last 2 games has looked like a team that could defend their title from last season. I mean, I did say that all it takes is for this team to finally broke out of their goal drought, and the fact that they finally did it against Minnesota, you started to see now that this team is started to fire on all cylinder, and Denise Bawanga again just out of nowhere. Now all of a sudden with 5 goals in the last 2 games, he's now I think on top of the Golden Boot race, and that again for all the talk about who's gonna win the Golden Boot, it seems like maybe Denise Bawanga has this one locked up if he can continue to stay red hot. So in the 59th minute, Crapo would deny Driussi on a rare opportunity for Austin, and then in the 68th minute, it will be 4-0 in favor of LAFC, and finally, it happened. Oliveira finally got on the score sheet, and honestly, I know it might be 4-0, but he must be the most relieved man and probably celebrate wildly after scoring that goal because, it has to be frustrating for him, and definitely frustrating for a player that you have tried so many times to score a goal, but, you've just been completely snake been rather because of a great save by the opposition or just missing some easy chances. But yeah, that goal definitely will help Oliveira in terms of his confidence. And good news for LAFC too, knowing that that is one of the guys that they're hoping to kind of put off the pressure of Awanga scoring all the goals for this LAFC team. But that being said, in the 75th minute, the clean sheet was gone as Leo Vasanen would score his first career MLS goal from Pereira to make it 4-1 in favor of Austin. So for the few Los Verdes fan that was still in the crowd, which there wasn't really a lot by the time the scoreline was 4-0, at least they had something to cheer about. Stuver then denied Vela, who looked to restore LAFC 4-goal lead before Bawanga looked for another hat trick. But he hits the side netting from close range. But then the fourth minute of stoppage time, Austin did get another one back, and it's actually Chiellini that unfortunately scored an own goal here. So both of the goals that Austin would score was by their defender and also by the opposition defender. So yeah, that just kind of sums up how bad the attack was. And you notice how I didn't mention Driussi name a lot. I only mentioned him once because yeah, he was pretty much a non-factor in this one, as it was the case for this Austin attack. And yeah, in the end, LAFC they were able to win 4-2 in this one. The shots in this one, 17 shots for the 10 that Austin had, 3 shots on goal for the 7 that LAFC had, 9 shots off target for the 4 that Austin has, 3 shots on his block for the 1 that LAFC had, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that LAFC has had. And I know it's Austin, and I know it's Minnesota as well in the last game. But LAFC look like they are themselves again, and that is bad news for the rest of the Western Conference because as much as we know that the Western Conference it's a pretty much a wild card in terms of who will make it deep in the playoffs. Maybe LAFC might be that team to do so, especially when they have been able to hit on their all their cylinder, and that's kind of been the case in the last 2 games. But that being said, moving on in the next one. So we got this playoff six-pointer between FC Dallas and the San Jose Earthquakes, and it ends in a draw, which I don't think this is going to satisfy either of these teams. But at least early on, it looked like the Quakes were buzzing. In fact, I would say that this was kind of a tale of two halves, where in the first half, it was pretty much the Quakes dominating this game, and they were rewarded by that by scoring an early goal, as Jeremy Abovasi would score from Jackson Yu and Espinoza to give Quakes a 1-0 lead. I think that's the first time they've scored inside the first 5, even inside the first 10 minutes this season on the road. This team always tends to start off slow on the road, but not in this game. They definitely were off to a strong start. Keep in mind, besides the 4-1 loss that the Quakes had against FC Dallas, the Quakes has had Dallas number. I mean, it doesn't matter if the Quakes are playing at home or on the road against Dallas. They've always tends to play well against this Dallas team. And maybe some of that has to do this season with Luchi Gonzalez returning to face against his former team, and he definitely looked like he was up for it. In the 11th minute, a couple would hits it wide from close range, and then in the 18th minute, the first shot for Dallas did see Velasco puts one right to Danielle. Little do we know that would be the only shot that we see in the first half, because despite Dallas did start to grow into this game and create a couple of half chances, that was really the only chance that they, of course, they actually didn't create a couple of chances. They looked threatened, but they really didn't really put any shots to trouble the Quakes netminder. But in the 23rd minute, Espinoza would curls it high from close range before he was denied by Pass in the 25th minute. And again, the Quakes they clearly have came to play in this game. They're looking to seal their playoff spot. A win in this game would punch their ticket into the playoffs. In fact, the shots were 7-1 for the Quakes in the first 30 minutes. And then in the first minute stoppage time, Guerrezo struck the post from close range. So the Quakes were oh so close of getting that second goal. But we do head to halftime with the Quakes leading 1-0. Now in the second half, if you thought that the Quakes can continue the momentum they had in the first half, yeah, you didn't watch the San Jose Earthquakes this season. And I fear the fact that coming into the second half, Luchi Gonzalez was just going to park the bus and pray for a 1-0 win, similar to what I see with Minnesota United and Adrian Heath would do. And I don't know, should I still use the word row Heath mode? I guess maybe I should still use it, even though Adrian Heath is no longer the head coach of Minnesota and no longer an MLS head coach as of now. But in the 47th minute, Ariella would miss a sitter from close range, and I mean row. Oh boy. Yeah, the way that I look how the Quakes were playing, it looked like they were in bunker mode. And this is the big criticism of Luchi Gonzalez this season, the fact that this team should not be putting their foot off the gas and just kind of go bunker mode. Almost kind of reminds me of a certain guy called Dominic Kinnear that used to be coaching this Quakes team, of how he used to kind of do that. I mean, I know some people might have not say that Luchi Gonzalez may be turning into Dominic Kinnear, but yeah, I mean, when you look at some of the tactics that's been used this season, it kind of feels a little bit similar to how Dominic Kinnear used to coach the team. And also, for those of you that are probably new to the channel, you don't know who Dominic Canary used to be, the former head coach for the Quakes back in 2013 all the way to 2017 before he got fired. And one of the big criticism of Dominic Kinnear, his team, especially on the road, is that they just bunker all game and just hope for a point and play that negative style of soccer that just drive Quakes fan, including myself, just absolutely crazy. And little do we know that bunkering mode does not work, because in the 57th minute, O'Brien would score from Fiera and Aramat to tie the game up at 1 apiece. And this is where I thought, okay, well, looks like Dallas is probably coming back from this, right? Well, Palmico would put it high from long range before Fan would miss wide, and then Fiera would hit one right to Danielle. And I thought Dallas was buzzing. Like, they were pressing for the lead. The Quakes continued to pray and park the bus, and looked like they were just clearly playing for a point. Daniel would then deny Fiera from close range, and then Ibiaga would head it wide in the 88th minute. And I think the only saving grace for the Quakes, at least the fact that it worked out in the end in terms of parking the bus, or at least if getting a point was the goal of this game, is the fact that Dallas has been very toothless in go, and that kind of is been the case for them in the last couple of games, and really the last month or two, because it's another draw in this one. It's a 1-1 draw in this one against the Quakes. The shots in this one, 10 shots committed, 9 that the Quakes had, 5 shots on goal for the 3 that the Quakes had, 3 shots off target for the 5 that Dallas had, 3 shots that was blocked for the none that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 67% possession compared to 33% possession that the Quakes has in this game. And again, I don't think neither of these teams will be happy with this result. I mean, maybe Dallas will be happy the fact that they have a chance to clinch their playoff position against a lowly Colorado Rapids team, but knowing the fact that this team has had a lot of problem in terms of goals scoring and also getting just way too many draws in the last couple of weeks, that's not a sure thing. And also for the Quakes, I mean, yes, if they got a point out of this one, and then they still control their destiny of them getting a win in the final game of the season against Austin, then they'll punch their ticket to the playoffs. But the fact that it led to the final day of the season, and especially the fact that it seems like they still need a lot of help in terms of even avoiding that wild card round. I mean, if the Quakes does make the playoffs, I still say it's a successful season, but it's been kind of underwhelming of how the Quakes have been performing in the last couple of weeks. And that, again, I know the goal is of course make the playoffs, and also getting a home playoff game will be a key, because it's hard to believe that PayPal Park, it's been standing for 8 years, and yet it still has yet to host a playoff game. And this probably might be the year to do so because of how the playoff format is. But even then, that's not a guarantee if they end up to be the ninth seed and get knocked out in the first round. Which also, by the way, this is a matchup. Don't be surprised. This could be a matchup we would see in terms of the wild card round, especially with the way that if the playoffs started today, and that's a big if because we still have decision day, this would be the matchup that both of these teams will play in the wild card round. But that being said, moving on in the next match is Houston and the Colorado Rapids. So safe to say that the Houston Dynamo, they have not suffered any sort of hangover after winning the US Open Cup final. Well, maybe a little bit in the game after they played the US Open Cup against FC Dallas, but besides that, yeah, Ben Olsen team, you can see this team is looking for blood. And this is where I've said that, with all these good teams in the Western Conference and with all the wild card that is happening, the Houston Dynamo could definitely make some noise heading into the playoffs, and that this team really kind of reminds me of that 2017 team that made it to the playoffs and then went all the way to the Western Conference final. And I would say that this team is even more fun to watch than that one, because while that one has the likes of Albert Elise and Kyoto in that dynamic duel, this team have multiple weapons on the attacking end, and not to mention their defense is really good as well. Now, early on, Illich would deny Bear from close range, but then in the third minute, Quinones would score. He scored from Dorsey and Sevchenko to make it 1-0 in favor of Houston Dynamo. I gotta say, Nelson Quinones, he has really improved as the season goes along. I know he was getting a lot of hatred from the Dynamo fan base in the beginning of the year, but he has really improved as the season goes along. Then Illich would deny Quinones of his second, but then in the 8th minute, the second goal would be scored as Bossy would score from Bear and Karaskia, and yeah, it feels like the route is on. I mean, this looked like it could be ugly for Colorado, and as much as, Chris Little has done a good job for the Rapids, doing his interim role, yeah, this was definitely a game you would love to forget. It was pretty ugly of how early on it looks like it was going to be one-way traffic in this one. Quinones then missed high from close range before the first shot for the Rapids did see Goodman puts it wide from long range, but then in the 28th minute, Quinones would score again. This time he scored from Herrera to make it 3-0 in favor of the Dynamo. Quinones then go for a Hattie in the 36th, but he was denied by Illich, and then Herrera would hit one right to Illich in the 37th minute. Then in the 41st minute, it would be 4-0 in favor of the Houston Dynamo. And Corey Bear scoring from Karaskia to make it 4-0 in favor of the Dynamo. And it could have been 5-0 if it wasn't for the post denying Quinones of hit getting a hat trick. Well, even though if he would have scored that, it wouldn't have counted because the flag went up. But yeah, that was probably one of the more one-sided first half I've seen an MLS team had against their opposition. And again, it really felt like it was man against boys in terms of how we saw in that first half. And we head to halftime with this one being a 4-0 game, and also knowing the fact that there was other games that was going on. I would also like to thank the Houston Dynamo of making this game kind of not interesting whatsoever. So, in the second half, you notice I didn't really write too much notes because I kind of stopped paying too much attention to this game and was really focused mostly on this one, because not only it's my team, but also this game turns out to be pretty entertaining too. Now, in the 54th minute, Colorado does get one back, and it's Cole Bassett scoring from Ronan to make it 4-1 in this one. That was a lovely backheel goal from Cole Bassett. And again, Cole Bassett, I talked about a player that has had a very disappointing return for the Rapids. It doesn't seem like it's the case under Chris Little. It seems like he started to find his old form in these last couple of weeks, and that, yeah, he just cannot stop scoring right now. I think this is the fourth consecutive game that he ends up on the score sheet for the Colorado Rapids. Bassi then puts it high from long range in the 60th minute, but then the 84th minute, it would be 5-1 in favor of the Houston Dynamo, as Artur would score from Bassi and Quinones to make it 5-1 in favor of the Dynamo, and that was the final score of this game. It was one-way traffic throughout this one, and the shots in this one, well, it was close in terms of the shots in the end. 14 shots compared to 10 that the Rapids had. The shots on goal pretty much tells why this is a lopsided game. 10 shots on goal compared to 1 that the Rapids had. Yeah, this could have been worse if Illich didn't make some big save in this one too. 2 shots off target for the 7 that Colorado has. Both teams had 2 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that the Colorado Rapids has in this game. Ugly, ugly game for the Colorado Rapids in this one. I mean, it was pretty clear that they definitely did not was not interested in terms of playing the spoiler in this one, and kind of just rolled over on this one. Although, I will say that as a fan of a team that is trying to make the playoffs, or at least 2 teams that are trying to make the playoffs, and also teams that are trying to get above the red line right now, I'm pretty sure we're hoping the Colorado Rapids will play a little bit better against FC Dallas. Although, unless you're a Dallas fan, that you're hoping you're going to get this version of the Colorado Rapids when you play them at home, that you get a massive free points to potentially clinch your playoff position. Because, yeah, the Rapids, it seems like maybe they're starting to head into see you next season. And, well, they've been in see you next season mode, but they're really now hitting see you next season mode and are in no interest in terms of playing the spoiler role anymore. That being said, moving on in the next game, Minnesota. So I don't know how much is this because of the fact that the Loons got a big interim head coach boost with Sean McCauley being in this one, and that he definitely did something that Adrian Heath would never do in this game, which is keep attacking no matter what the score line is, or the fact that it seems like it was kind of amateur hour in terms of seeing the broadcast in this one, because they had a strike that was going on between the staff members, especially the camera crew for the Minnesota United team, over the team itself, or the fact that they were facing against an LA Galaxy side that, yeah, if there's one thing I know about Galaxy game, at least in the past month, they have been must-watch TV, and this was must-watch TV again, with the fact that, I would say that the scoreline kind is a little deceiving. The fact that, the Galaxy had chances of their own, and Dane Sinclair had to come up big again in this one too. Or the fact that I would like to say that Timu Puki not only had a party in this one, but man, it was a party of a lifetime of how Timu Puki just kind of went off in this game against the LA Galaxy. Now, in the first half, Bond would deny Longwane from close range before Pookie would puts it wide from long range. The Loons were definitely on the front foot. They were pressing for the opener. Greg Lushwood puts it high from long range before the first shot for the Galaxy did see Dane Sinclair deny Boy from close range. Pookie then hits one right to Bond in the 19 minutes. The Loon continued to knock on the door, but the question is, can they finish? And usually the answer is no, but I feel like in this game, and I don't know why I had this feeling, but I was kind of optimistic that eventually they'll figure it out. And maybe that's a lot to do with Adrian Heath no longer being with this team, and that the team did say that they are going to really shows a lot of effort and really give it everything in front of the sold out crowd on Fan Appreciation Night at Allianz Field. Though in the 27th minute, Dane Sinclair did rob Costa from point blank range before Bond would deny Reynoso from close. The shots were 10-4 up to that point for Minnesota. But they finally broke through in the 33rd minute as Hassani Dotson, all of a sudden, he started to score goals, and he's scoring goals not because of bangers that we always see him score, but actually some decent goals too, or regular goals that you see maybe attackers does. And he scored here from Longwane to make it 1-0 in favor of Minnesota. Sharp did look to respond, but he hits that one right to Dane St. Clair. But now this is where I kind of right now let's see if things have changed under Sean McCulley, where under Adrian Heath, this team would easily just decide to not attack anymore and just maybe hold on to the 1-0 lead, and most of the time that just have not happened. But we'll see whether it's going to be different under Sean McCulley. Spoiler alert, it would be different. Though what would not be different is Minnesota immediately gave up that lead, as in the 41st minute, Tyler Boyd would score from Yoshida to tie the game up at 1 apiece. That took a deflection, so yeah, very unlucky there for the Loons. But knowing the luck that they've been going through and the free fall they've been going through, I mean, that just kind of sums up their luck lately. And then Dane Sinclair would deny Sharp from close range, and you just kind of had a feeling the momentum was with the Galaxy. The Loons were just having no answer in terms of dealing with the Galaxy transition. That was a problem in that meltdown that I saw in person a couple of weeks ago, where they just had no answer in terms of dealing with the transition the Galaxy was putting in. Though Longwane did miss Wyatt in the 45th minute, but then right on the stroke of halftime, Teemu Pukki would score here, as he scored here from Reynoso to give the Loons the lead again. Now, there was a question of possible offside, and because of the camera angle that we were given, I mean, I was kind of surprised they didn't go to VAR, but I guess maybe even VAR was not operating in this one too because of the strike, because that definitely looked like it was offside on Teemu Pukki. But I didn't care. I mean, I'm just happy the fact that the team had a good response, and yeah, they retake the lead heading into the second half. But as we have seen before many times, this team, despite them having the lead in halftime, it kind of doesn't really mean anything, because most of the time they just blow it. In the 50th minute, though, Bond would deny Longwane from close range before Costa would hit one right to Dane Sinclair. Then Dane Sinclair would deny Boyd from close range, and I thought the Loons got away with that one because that came off of a bad clearance. That was a huge problem in that game against LAFC just a couple of days ago. Pookie then blasted high from long range, but then the 60th minute, he scored again, as he scored here to make it 3-1 in favor of Minnesota. And I mean, Rowe, here we go again. So, yeah, it's a 3-1 lead, like what we saw just a couple of weeks ago against the Galaxy. Obviously, we know what happened. That it turns out to be an absolute meltdown in the second half. But the question is, under Sean McCulley, can they able to hold on to that 3-1 lead? Well, Bond did deny Longwane in the near post, and again, this is where you saw that this team, they didn't stop attacking. Like they looked like they were more hungry to trying to get a fourth goal, which again, that this is also where I kind of ask, who is this Loons team? I don't recognize this team of just keep attacking, even though the scoreline says that they're well and truly in hand. Though Cirillo did blast it high in the near post, and I just kind of had a feeling this next goal was crucial, especially knowing how last matchup went through. And it turns out the next goal would come from Minnesota United, as in the 68th minute, Teemu Pukki would complete his hat trick. He scored from Longwane and Reynoso to make it 3-1, or not 3-1, but 4-1 now for Minnesota. And why not why go for a hat trick when you can score another goal just later in this game, as he would score again in the 76th minute, competing a rare four goal game that we've seen in MLS. I think I don't remember who scored 4 goals this season. He might actually be the first player this season to score 4 goals in a single game, but he scored here from Fragapani to make it 5-1 in favor of Minnesota, and that goal also now means that Teemu Pukki has hit double-digit goal scoring. And for those people that a couple weeks ago were criticizing Teemu Pukki, yeah, I think those folks are basically hiding now, because again, I've said this before. I feel like eventually Teemu Pukki will figure things out, and that if he started to get hot, then yeah, watch out. He can really get hot, and it seems like he's been carrying this team on the attack in the last couple of games. So yeah, that made it 5-1 in favor of Minnesota. Again, it was kind of surreal to see how this team was played, and that I feel like this is what I was hoping this team would be, especially with the talent that they have on the attacking end. Though Bond did deny Fragapani from close range, it was almost 6-1 in this one. And again, even at 5-1, this team was still attacking. Like this under Adrian Heath, this would never happen even when this team is up 5-1. Though in the 82nd minute they did concede a goal as the Galaxy does get one back as Joveljic would score here to make it 5-2 in this one. Costa would then pulls it wide on the free kick. But yeah, in the end, Minnesota, I mean, this was probably one of the best, if not the best performance that they put this season. They win 5-2 in this one against the Galaxy. And to show you why Galaxy game in the last couple of games has been must-watch TV, look at the shots total. 24 shots compared to 22 that the Galaxy had. There was 46 shots in this game combined for both of these teams. I mean, that is probably the most we have had this season combined for both of these teams, and probably the first time we've seen both teams hit 20 shots in this one. Yeah, safe to say defense was kind of optional at time in this game too. But yeah, 13 shots on goal compared to 8 that the Galaxy had. Both teams had 8 shots off target. And the shots that was blocked, I mean, normally when you see a high amount of shots, you think that there's a lot of shots that was blocked. Not really. 3 shots that was blocked compared to 6 that the Galaxy had. So out of the 46 shots that was made, only 9 of them was blocked. And the possession, 53% possession compared to, and I actually wrote the wrong percentage. It should be 47% possession that the Galaxy has in this game. And like I said, Galaxy games has just been a must-watch TV lately. But unfortunately, if you're a Galaxy fans, it doesn't really mean much because with this loss, the Galaxy have officially eliminated from the playoffs. And yeah, I mean they kind of got eliminated, just like Austin. They kind of went down with a whimper, and that again, the defense. I mean, it's been a turnstile in the last couple of games. I mean, don't let the great attacking threat kind of fool you. The fact that they have been really bad on the defensive end, and this is why I've said before with this Galaxy team a couple of years where it kind of looks like the one that is currently just because you have a good attack. You don't have a good defense, you could be in serious trouble, and it's unsustainable in terms of you keep winning 3-2 or 4-3 games like the Galaxy has been winning lately, and they kind of finally caught up to them. But for Minnesota, I mean, they're still alive in terms of the playoffs. I don't know if this team can still make it to the playoffs because the next game they're playing against Sporting KC on the road, and whenever the Loons play against Sporting KC on the road, it's usually an automatic L. In fact, it's not usually; it's always an automatic L. They still have not won a single regular season game at Children's Mercy Park, but I will say this for this team. I mean, the fact that they haven't given up and that they're still fighting for playoffs. A lot. Hats off to these players and hats off to Sean McCauley. I mean, again, it's just one game, and I'm not going to read too much the fact that this team has turned things around. I mean, for me as a pessimistic Loons fan, I would still say that this team probably won't make it, and they'll definitely do something in the offseason to try and improve this team, especially in the midfield and in the defensive area. But overall, I mean, it's great to see that the attack finally comes to play. And let's say if they do make it to the playoffs, man, I feel like they might be playing house money. And I know that's crazy to say for a team that I thought that has expectation to do much more in the playoffs. But with the way that this team, after firing Adrian Heath, looked like they were ready to think about making some changes in the offseason and saying that this is kind of a lost season. The fact that they're still alive and they could potentially make it to the playoffs under an interim head coach, which I don't remember the last time we've seen an interim head coach and an MLS team into the playoffs. Yeah, this team could play with some house money, and there could be no expectation. And when this team does not have expectation, we know this team tends to do much better, and we'll see whether that, of course, is the case. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last two games to finish off the penultimate match week before we head to decision day in 2 weeks' time. So moving on, we got RSL versus Sporting KC, and like the games that I've seen in the first fourth, this looked like it was going to be a laughter, and it was all thanks to RSL probably got off to the worst start possible in this one, getting a red card just 2 minutes into this game, as Justin Glad, of course, got sent off after VAR deemed that Glad fouled Tommy, which was considered a denial of goal score opportunity, and that pretty much Sporting KC dominated the rest of the way. They had a 3-0 lead heading into the last 10 minutes, and it looked like it was going to be all done, right? Well, not really, because remember that thing called MLS After Dark? Oh boy, it looked like it was going to take over in this one too, and that I'm pretty sure Sporting KC fans are probably very relieved that MLS After Dark didn't reach its peak form on this one, and RSL literally took their anthem from if you believe in a big way in this game. But like I said, RSL was down to 10 men, and to make matters worse, in the 4th minute on the ensuing free kick, Tommy would score. He scored here to make it 1-0 in favor of Sporting KC, though not only was a double whammy for RSL, but man, the wall. That was terrible. Like that was terrible by the wall there. It did not do its job. Like one thing when your ass in the wall is the fact that you got to be strong in the wall. You have to jump up and try to block it. I mean, I know it can be daunting if you're the person in the wall in terms of trying to block a shot even with your head, but you just cannot just move or split it aside. And that wall split. And because that wall split, that ball went through the gaps of that wall that RSL built and loaded, and unsurprisingly, it went into the back of the net. So yeah, a terrible start for this RSL team just made it worse with them now down 1-0, and they have to play 88 minutes with just 10 men in this one, and Sporting kind of took advantage of it. They were dictating the play and they were controlling this game, and in the 29th minute they would make it 2-0 as Johnny Russell would score from Ndembe and Tommy to make it 2-0 in favor of Sporting KC. And Ndembe then puts one right to McNabb before Tommy would puts it wide from close range. It was all Sporting KC up to this point. It looked like it was going to be a laughter for Sporting KC, and as they looked like they were going to put this game on cruise control. Now, in the second half, as Sporting KC were leading 2-0, Russell would hit one right to McMath. Sporting KC continued to dominate this game, looking for a third goal. McMath would then deny Polito from a tight angle, but then really out of nowhere in the 71st minute, Julio would put the ball into the back of the net. The problem was he was in an offside position, but still maybe a pulse for RSL because up to this point it was a very flat performance. It looked like RSL didn't even try to get one back into this game, and you think that goal that was disallowed, maybe that's a glimmer of hope, but then it looked like it was crushed in the 76th minute as a penalty was given to Sporting as Silva brought down Ndembe in the box, which Polito steps up to take the penalty. You know he doesn't miss penalty, and he doesn't here as he made it 3-0 in favor of Sporting KC. McMahon then denied Gutierrez from close range, and with 10 minutes to go, you're thinking, yeah, this is easy. I mean, no, this is gonna be a cakewalk for Sporting KC. Nothing crazy happened in this one game, right? I'm just gonna switch to maybe watching this one and see how this would turns out, right? Well, no. This is where, like I said, MLS After Dark can be a hell of a draw in this league because in the 81st minute, Mateus Vera would score an absolute golazo here to give RSL a goal in this one, or at least at that point, it looked like it was just a consolation goal because that was just such a great goal for Mateus Vera. And as much as Mateus Vera could be a hothead, for this RSL team and can be bad at times, he can score some wonderful golazo. I mean, he scored some very good bangers of a goal, and yeah, that definitely is going to be in contention and probably could win the goal of the week. But then in the 89th minute, RSL got another one back, and it's Savarino, the one that gets another one back, and all of a sudden, this was a one-goal game. I mean, this game just about 9 minutes ago looked like RSL was dead and buried, and it looks like Sporting KC was easily on their way of getting a massive 3 points. And again, that of course, or that goal came from a long ball, which one of the things that I think RSL and Pablo Mastroeni at least tried to adjust is the fact that they started playing long ball. They're trying to play it over the top of that Sporting team, and it was very successful because SKC had no answer in terms of dealing with those long ball. They announced it was 6 minutes of stoppage time in this one, which still was plenty of time for RSL to get one back because all of a sudden, that crowd at Rio Tinto or American First Field, but I always will call it a Rio Tinto Stadium, and I know RSL fans will always call that stadium the Riot. It definitely started to woke up. Like the atmosphere was electric. It looked like the team was trying to will this team to really go full MLS After Dark mode of coming back from 3-0 down and getting an equalizer. And Sporting KC looked like it was in total meltdown mode in this one. Vera would then blast it high from long range as he was trying to score another golazo before Ojeda would blast it way wide off of a deflection. And again, Sporting KC, they were in survival mode. The RSL was having all the momentum. They were pressing for the equalizer. Savarino then pulls it wide from close range. That's one that Jefferson Savarino want to have back. I mean, he had that space and to try to curl it in, and he just missed that one wide. But on the other end, Johnny's almost looked like he sealed this one. It looks like he made it 4-2 in this one. But unfortunately, the goal was disallowed for offside. There was one more opportunity for RSL on the set piece, but they didn't do much about it. But yeah, in the end, Sporting KC, they just about survived in this game. That looked like it was a laughter in this game, and then it kind of got unnecessarily tense. But they do walk away with a massive 3 points to win 3-2 against RSL. The shots in this one, 16 shots for the 10 that RSL had, 10 shots on goal for the 4 that RSL had, 5 shots off target for the 4 that Sporting KC had, 2 shots that was blocked for the 1 that RSL had, and possession-wise, 62% possession compared to 38% possession that RSL has in this one. And while Peter Vermees will definitely not be happy with how his team just almost went into total meltdown mode in this one, I think in the end he wouldn't care. Like, we're at this part of the season, it really doesn't matter how you win a game. You could win a game pretty, or you can win in an ugly way where you almost had a total collapse like what we saw Sporting KC had in this one. As long as you get the 3 points, that is what all matters, especially when you're trying to keep your playoff hope alive. And that I believe in that game against Minnesota. If they can beat Minnesota, and depending on how the other resort goes, they can make it to the playoffs. So again, that game between Sporting KC and Minnesota, I think that game could potentially be on national television, because I think Fox will choose 2 games on national television, and I think that could be one of those games that could be on national television because of how big that game could be, where one of those teams could make it to the playoffs, depending on how other resort goes. With that being said, moving on, in the last match on this board is Seattle versus Vancouver. So yeah, this was a game where Seattle, they just couldn't figure out Takaoka. Like, Takaoka was definitely on his game in this one. This was just one of those games where you see a goalkeeper just in a great form throughout the game, where he just kind of become a wall, and that Seattle just couldn't figure him out, and also the finishing was definitely lacking in this game too. Now, early on, there was not much happen early in this one, as the first shot of the goal did see Paulo puts it high off the volley, for Juliet did pulls it wide from close range, and then White would heads it wide from close in the 26th minute. It was a relatively quiet game for both Ryan Gall and Brian White, which give a lot of credit to that Sounders defense. They really kind of shut them down, though there was no doubt the Whitecaps kind of started to get into this game. They were trying to get the opener off of some of these half chances. Though Chu did hit one right to Takaoka, and Seattle started to ramp up the pressure as we head near the end of the half. They were looking for the opening goal, but they don't get it, and we head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, they really ramped up the pressure, Seattle, and this is when Takaoka started to become a wall. It started with Chu blasted high from close range before Ladero hits one right to Takaoka. The Sounders were clearly on the front foot. They were pressing for the equalizer. Ladero then hits one right to Takaoka again, but then Gol came the closest in terms of scoring for both of these teams. He struck the he struck the post from close range. Easy for me to say that is, but you just kind of had a sense the opening goal was coming with the chances that was going. But the question is, who can get it? Well, the Seattle Sounders looked like they were the one to do it, because Rodon would then post it wide from long range before Takaoka would deny Rodon from close in the 78th minute. And it just, at that point, it felt like it was just not going to happen for the Sounders. I mean, they had so many opportunity, and they just couldn't figure out Takaoka. That was clearly a wall, and determined to not give up a goal in this one. Nuhu then hits it wide from close range in the 88th minute before Abear would pulls it wide from close, and then Takaoka would absolutely rob Christian Rodon from close range in the 5th minute stoppage time. I think that one also came off a throw-in, so this would have been the second consecutive game the Seattle Sounders would have got a dramatic stoppage time winner because of a goal that came off of a throw-in, but it was not meant to be this time. As in the end, it ends in a scoreless draw, and the shots in this one, 17 shots committed, just 4 that the Vancouver Whitecaps had. 5 shots on goal committed, none that the Whitecaps had. 4 shots off target committed, 6 that Seattle had. 6 shots that was blocked committed, none that Vancouver has. And possession-wise, 58% possession compared to the 42% possession the Vancouver Whitecaps has in this game. And if the Seattle Sounders, there is going to be a night where unfortunately they ran into a good goalkeeper, or their finishing isn't going to be good. At least they had it in this game and not in the playoffs, because we have seen it already. It happened in the playoffs where they ran into a good goalkeeper and they just couldn't get a goal, and that maybe is going to be a concern for Brian Schmitz's team as they head into the playoffs. Because when you look at the Sounders team, I mean, there are times where they can definitely get going on the attack, but then there's times where they just look look problematic, as we have seen throughout this game. But still, all credit has to go to Yohei Takioka. This was probably one of his best games that he had played, and he was kind of the reason why the Whitecaps stole a point in this game against their Cascadia rival, the Seattle Sounders. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at all 6 of these games to finish off the penultimate match week review of match week number 37. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these games. And yeah, like I said, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you